JR Salzman was a timber sports athlete. After doing a lot of this and being very successful, he decided to join the Minnesota National Guard and went to Iraq. An IED exploded into his Humvee. Athletes, their whole identity is wrapped up in their bodies and what they can do. That's how they see who they are. So this has had an effect on him, not just in the way it normally would with any of us, but also in the effect of what does he do now? Where does he go? How does he be the person that he's always been?
How do you see this as a personal story or as a political story?
I think it's a personal story that can illustrate some of the larger political issues. There are a lot of kids who are coming back in a very different condition from when they left, and a lot of them are athletes, and I want to tell that story.
In the close-knit world of log rolling, JR Salzman is a star, winning 5 world titles and 14 medals in the Great Outdoor Games.
Men's log rolling gold medal champion, JR Salzman.
JR grew up in the small town of Hayward, Wisconsin, home of the Lumberjack World Championships.
There's one of them in the water. JR Salzman is our winner of round number 1.
Log rolling may be an obscure sport to the rest of the country, but it means everything to JR. The goal in log rolling is to be the last one standing, and he often was.
I love doing it. It's a sport like no other. I'm good at it. I work hard at it. People identify the sport with me, and they identify me with the sport. They're not really two separate entities. They see, JR Salzman log roller.
But in September of 2003, still shaken by the events of 9/11, JR made a life-altering choice. With America at war, the 24-year-old enlisted in the National Guard.
I'm doing what I need to do to thank my country for providing me with everything that I have.
On March 10, 2006, as his unit prepared to deploy, JR and his girlfriend, Josie, eloped. Just 2 weeks later, he left for southern Iraq. The area was so calm, JR wrote in a blog he'd been keeping that here, you're more liable to hit a sheep than an IED. But that changed when JR's unit was ordered near Baghdad. On December 19th, 9 months after arriving in Iraq, he was riding in the lead vehicle of a convoy scanning for improvised explosive devices, IEDs.
I reached with my right arm for a different set of ballistic glasses above my windshield in my Humvee. The next thing I know, I'm waking up. And my arm hurt really bad. It was the worst pain I'd ever felt. I was spitting blood, and I looked down, and where my hand was supposed to be was gone. I think my pinky and my ring finger were actually hanging off by some tendons.
There was one tendon that was the length of where his arm used to be, and then it was just a folded lop of hamburger basically at the end.
The thought of dying went through my head for probably a split second. And I said, no way, no way am I dying. Not here, not today, not in this country.
And he said, I don't care about my arms as long as I got my legs so I can continue to log roll.
Even in that moment?
Yeah, I was thinking about log rolling. Yeah, I know, that tells you how much it means to me.
JR was the only soldier in the convoy seriously injured. He was medevaced first to Germany and then to Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C. He'd arrived on Christmas Eve. Josie arrived the next day. Up to that point, they'd spent less than a month together as man and wife.
What was that first night in the hospital with him like?
He started talking in his sleep. He was reliving the entire day, not just the accident, but the entire day. And he's just screaming at the top of his lungs. I think every guy on the ward is awake.
JR would undergo 5 surgeries. Doctors amputated the remainder of his right arm, and on his left hand, they removed his ring finger, which had been crushed in the blast by his wedding band.
1 second, I was the guy who could fix any Humvee. I was the guy who could build and repair anything. And then in an instant, I couldn't tie my shoes. I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't shave. I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't even go to the bathroom by myself for a month. For a month.
And he also faced a new battle, the declining quality of care at Walter Reed.
I was dumbfounded at how little help we got. To get a therapy appointment for a psychiatrist, you know, my case manager basically had to basically beg for it. It's like, look, I did my job, now you do your job, and you help me, and you help fix me, and you help get on with my life.
Eight months after the blast, JR has been honorably discharged from the military. He and Josie have returned to the small town of Menominee, Wisconsin, where they lived before JR was deployed. He's now a student at the University of Wisconsin Stout.
Massively increase. At any rate,
Like many veterans, not all of JR's wounds are visible.
full complement of tools.
My memory is just crap right now. Josie said your name yesterday, and I couldn't remember who you were. And then she showed me a picture, and I still couldn't remember who you were. And I said, I don't think I've ever met this person. She's like, she interviewed you. I was like, I cannot.
We spent a day together.
I was like, I cannot remember this person. And then as soon as I walked in here and saw you, I was like, oh yeah, and then I remembered you.
Still, JR says he has no regrets.
I'd say that there's a point in your life where, you know, something hits you so hard, you feel like you really got to do something, you know. And that's really how 9/11 hit me, you know.
Why? What part?
You know, that someone could come into my country and do that. It's been so long since I really talked about it. Okay, next question.
To help the healing process, JR is returning to the outdoors. But most importantly, he's returning to the sport that has always defined him.
I had, you know, butterflies.
In July, 7 months after losing his right hand, JR Salzman took his first step back onto a log.
I was very proud that I could still do this.
When we saw you at Walter Reed, you were worried about how your balance would be affected on the log. You have to shift everything.
The balance is affected quite a bit, and you know, I wore a prosthetic, and I never worn a prosthetic in the water. And am I still going to be able to roll? Riding a bike. I knew there was a solution. I just have to find it. So I rolled with it on, and it felt okay. It felt pretty natural.
Well, I guess I still got it.
Yeah?
I'm going to be a world champion again because I'm going to work at it, and that's when I set my mind to something. You know, I don't stop until I achieve it. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to win again. It's that simple.